Hello everyone, and welcome back to our live coverage of the 2016 Tata Steel Chess Festival. We interrupted our sharp analysis of the game between Fabi and Luke, and during our break we moved over to the game of Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen, because that's such a key matchup for the tournament standings.
We needed to calm down a little bit after all.
Yeah. With so many sharp moves, we've really gone into the sedate, quiet channels of positional chess. F4, we have left it. A7, A5.
It seems like he's stopping B2, B4.
That's a good one. I thought Rook D8. He seemed to feel that B4 was really something to be concerned about. Magnus played A5.
E5.
Having said A, he says B. Now Rook D8. We have a trade. King over, bishop,
and
king.
We'll have another trade.
Which we have. And, you know, after it all is said and done, White has emerged with some kind of superior knight ending, thanks to his space.
He has more space, no doubt.
But
at the same time, you know, black's pieces are
very active, right? So, did we see the move knight c5, by the way?
He did play it.
Right.
Oh, no, actually.
Yes.
He did play it.
Again, there is this very awkward reality in the position. The knight doesn't have many squares. If, after b4, the knight may end up being stuck on the square.
Well, rook d1 is a threat.
And rook d1 is a threat. So knight c5 was actually forced. Rook c1. That was a little surprise. I thought he might just try to go into a straight knight ending. Maybe black's king is too active. We can't control.
Yes,
Oops.
you'll get to square c4.
Well, but is it so? Hold on. You always just have to be worried about the pawn breaks, right? The breakthrough pawns.
The famous 4 against 4
breakthrough.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how would this line go in your estimation? King d5 or king b5?
My first thought was king d5.
Okay, let's just have a quick look-see.
Yes, and
because
you want to know what is what.
So this guy is.
Looks awfully risky for white to play, but then again, we're an analysis, so we can do anything we want.
We're too many moves away from playing genius h5, g5 breaks. So that was why.
Now we have a sort of a baseline of where to start with.
So rook c1. Okay, so now, knight e4 and taking advantage of the king's position.
Mm-hmm.
Check was played, and what has happened?
King e2.
King e2.
And rook d4.
Rook d4.
So he stops knight e4, he stops b4.
The rook on d3 was hanging in both cases.
And I'm going to make a prediction.
Invites a repetition of
I
moves.
think I would almost be shocked if king e3 is not played here.
I don't... Shocked. I would be surprised if Wesley played it. I have a suspicion that when Wesley played this slow move rook b1, he had it in his mind that he wanted to get such a spatial advantage in an ending. So let me play the devil's advocate, because you're absolutely right.
Someone has to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah, so. You're absolutely right. A draw is on tap if White wants. But if White is trying to, should I say prove something? Is that too strong?
No.
If White wants to, the difference between this variation, of course, and the other one is...
The king cannot come in.
Precisely.
So now you want to improve your king again?
Yes.
And maybe even look at the same idea of going into pawn endgame with a spectacular breakthrough?
Precisely so. How do you understand me very, very well? So knight d3 could be the most annoying. I don't want to...
Yeah, the knight might actually go to the king's side.
So I'll play b3. And again, I want as White, on a good day, to get my king to some great square, go knight e4, knight g5,
and win a pawn,
or win the game. I mean, that's just over, right? That's very easy for White to play. Black shouldn't do that.
No. But you haven't convinced me.
Okay.
No,
that he will actually decline the draw and challenge the world champion to.
Yes.
To
he might do it, but I don't believe that Black should really be in big trouble here. But then again,
let's see how it could potentially go, because this is all very forcing.
Yes.
Again, we're
well, you might not have to play knight d3, but up to rook d1 you have to take.
That is clear.
So
White's king is a long way from the d4 square, of course.
So could you play something like b5 and b4?
b5 definitely is
just to get access with the king?
Absolutely. Drive that knight away, especially, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just a second. Let me
and if I'm a real genius, I might even play knight a4. But I'm not.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Showing too much talent. King b2.
Okay, b4 was my main idea.
Of course. Well, this is not what White was hoping for with his great space.
No, but now the b pawn...
Well, it's a battering ram, and the king is coming to d5. If the king... Well, I wanted my king on d4, obviously, before you got your king on d5. And this is...
Not going to happen.
This is not going to happen, frankly. So b5. Very...
yes,
if you fast, huh?
If you would play b4, then you're actually asking to lose the position.
Well, precisely. I don't...
you don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that.
And then you go knight a2 and then king d5, and
yes,
we are almost signing score sheets.
Exactly. That is hoopless. So king b5. Again, let me just... So I'm just trying to imagine what it is that Wesley could conceive of.
You're still unsure why he is actually playing into this.
Precisely.
Well,
I mean, to get into his head a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm trying to make an argument. I'm not sure I'm going to succeed. I'm trying to make an argument that I've induced you to play b4, and now when I go king b3, I'm going to be really, really close to tagging.
Yes, but you're not going to king b3 just yet.
Right.
But you are a devil's advocate, so
exactly. Well, again, because if you make this connection between the opening choice of Wesley with rook b1 and slow playing it, gaining some space.
Well, I would almost think that actually he has seen a position, maybe even this position on the board
something
at home,
very, very similar.
It looks very natural.
All the play. Yes.
Yes. So.
Okay, and after knight b1...
I'll play king d5, I believe.
King David 5 looks like a reasonable move. Now I'm going to play knight b3, knight d2 to b3, and because that was why I declined to trade pawns, right?
And if I play king d4, you're going to play knight b3 anyway, correct?
do I trade first? No, you're right. Or
Well, okay, I don't know about that, but anyways, you
yes, this
want
is
to
the
see what
type
the
of
pawn and game is
right,
going to be.
right. This is the investigation I'm trying to make, right? And okay, it looks like white is actually very, and the repetition. Nothing to discuss.
Well, that ends our analysis, I guess, of this game.
Yes. A draw by repetition. Magnus Carlsen is
Looking
cruising, looking great, as he, at the moment, has a 1.5 point lead. He had a point lead coming into the round. The closest player, Fabiano Caruana, needs a result against Luc van Velde.
Which he might get.
Let's have a look.
Well, there's also maybe another game we can
Please.
quickly look at first. I see
sure.
that the Dutch youngster Jordan van Vries might have some.
Oh, the Challengers Group.
The
Yes.
Challengers Group.
Whoa. Here we stand in the
standings.
Challengers. A tie for first between Abidan Baskaran and Alexei Drev with a massive 8 out of 11 score. Normally when you're 8 out of 11, by the way, you're like, man, I got a 3-point lead over the competition. Look at these guys.
These are actually the scores that used to happen in the C group when we still had
True.
one.
When Magnus was in the C
Yes.
group and
well,
scoring,
he would usually be at 10 out of 11.
10 out of 10 out
but
of
still,
13.
it's a pretty good score.
As well as they're doing, Safarli, it's only a 0.5 point behind, and then there's a gap.
Yes.
And we have Jordan Van Forest, who's really acquitting himself nicely. He makes a good impression.
He does. Very
me.
exciting games.
Yes.
And yesterday against Safarli, the game was a bit of a seesaw. I mean,
Oh,
they,
yes.
they both had have winning position before finally the dust settled and the two connected pass ones.
Won the game
Yes.
for Safarli. Yes.
So I cannot imagine that Van Forest will be playing in the Challengers Group for many more years to come.
He's inevitably, you would say, he's going to be
Yes.
making an appearance
He is.
in the Masters.
Either by qualification or by
invitation. Let's see how the heck they got Jordan Van Forest against China's
Yes.
second
You
highest
haven't-
lady Ju Wenjun.
You haven't seen any of the game yet?
Not at all.
I was
No.
just told by Robert Riss, who
Yes.
you know very well,
Very well.
that Jordan has been, well, I wouldn't say bragging, but actually announcing that this tournament he will play the King's Gambit.
Oh, really?
So it seems like he used his last chance, assuming that tomorrow
or
he'll
he
be
doesn't
playing
have it.
black.
You're
Yes.
right, exactly.
So here we go. The King's Gambit.
Gambit.
was-
Let's take a moment to say our prayers and our thanks and our blessings for this very old romantic gambit, and
Black
well,
accepted it.
And Black accepted it. This is the line that Mickey Adams likes very, very much. I actually have something in my heart towards the King's Gambit, but I still don't have a good answer against G5.
Just
G5.
keeping the pawn. And
Yeah, well, just G5 and Bishop G7. It's a tough one. You gotta go H4, right? Just sorry. Let's have a conversation. G5. Yeah. H4, basically box. G4. And if you can show me how white gets an edge, I'll start playing the King's Gambit myself. Knight E5 only move.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't play this position with either color.
Well, you might want to play it with black after I show you what you should do.
I think even I don't think
No, you
either
won't
color-
even come in.
No, it's not for me.
D6. I think that this is a very precise move order for black. Knight takes G4. No choice, in fact. Knight F6.
So we're getting a little lesson of how to beat the King's Gambit.
Or how to
At least get a good position.
And maybe our viewers can tell me how, because I never saw... I like to play the King's Gambit on occasion in the early days, but I just
but
never...
you prefer black these
to
days.
these days. And now I think most players play Knight F2, frankly. Rook G8. Most players play D4 with white.
Yes.
Bishop H6.
Keep the pawn.
Keep the pawn, and, well, you see what black intends as knight c6, queen e7, rook g3.
And castling.
And castling long. Looks pretty good. But
Okay.
d5 is, I think most elite grandmasters, when they're playing against the King's Gambit, they don't want white to have any fun.
Yes.
Mickey Adams shuts down the white players with d5, which was Zhu Wenjun's approach. Check. All
Okay.
fair, all well known, yeah? All this good stuff.
Knight d5.
Knight d5. Really?
I
Don't
already
know.
told you
I
I don't
don't
play this
know.
for white or black,
Okay,
so I'm.
you're off the hook.
Yes, which is a bit of a surprise because my father, who was a good player back in his days,
Yes?
used to play the King's Gambit a lot, but it didn't trickle down the
It
family
wasn't.
line.
It wasn't in the DNA.
I went a different route.
Okay, but knight d5 looks like a strange. Everybody, I assume, would play bishop d6 and castles.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference I can imagine is that with the knight on d5, yeah, bishop d6 and castles would be, let us say, the norm.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine with the move knight d5, the young lady wants to meet a d4 with a knight e3 kind of thing.
Okay.
Let's see how Jordan handled this challenge.
He castled,
Yes, bishop d6.
and he didn't play d4.
Now you challenge the knight, knight c3, bishop e6.
Protects the knight.
Looks good.
Knight e4, attacking the dark-side bishop, and I imagine pair bishops would be somewhat of a nice thing to have in this position.
All right,
So she retreats.
right.
The bishop on c4 is unprotected.
So there's
So-
some tricks that you have to be aware.
Yes, he puts it on b3,
Okay.
and black castles. And now he plays pawn to d4.
Looks okay.
Yes, I would think that white's position looks pretty nice thus far.
Well, I can imagine on a good day you want to play c4,
Mm-hmm.
force the knight to occupy the e3 square. You take it, go queen d3,
And
and
you regain the pawn.
you checkmate on h7, or you gain the pawn on e3.
Yes, you might even use the rook on a1 to go after that e-pawn.
Agreed.
Okay, she played knight d7.
Very
So he
sensibly
could have played-
developing her,
yes.
her pieces.
He could have played c4, but he first plays queen e2. I
Okay.
think that his plan is to just immediately take with the queen,
Okay.
and her plan is no longer to play knight e3. She retreated to b6.
A new plan.
At this moment, black is threatening to kick the bishop away from the defense of this pawn.
Yep.
Therefore, he played a3.
Okay.
He is not too worried about positional considerations like a4 on the queen side, because I have a feeling something is going to happen on the king side in this game.
Well, positional considerations aside, bishop f4 is winning a pawn in the position for white.
Yes.
So,
She defends the pawn.
okay. Now
Um,
things are heating up.
Yes, I would say this is an invitation to attack. And here we go.
Wow. h4.
Looks sort of logical. Break down or did you see another?
I'm thinking of a player from the Northwest, a friend of mine, David.
Northwest of the US.
Northwest of the U.S. He often had a habit of sacrificing a piece on the king side in this
Mm-hmm.
kind of a style. Having said that, I don't think g3 is actually the right approach, but okay. h4 was Jordan's move, okay.
And she protects the pawn, and after a trade, we've got a piece
Wow.
sacrifice,
Humana.
which I'm sure both players,
Anticipated.
yes. Well, black has no
No
choice.
no
the
choice.
pawn, the
Take
knight
it.
has to be taken, and the next move looks very logical.
Forceful, natural.
Now the bishop has to move away. I think f6 looks like a horrible
Well,
weakening of sorts.
Queen G6 check would
Um,
be a
king-
direct refutation, yeah?
Yes.
That is not a good idea.
And then maybe King F2.
Take it. Take it on G5 and then play King F2.
Okay.
I don't want to be bothered by Bishop H4
Sure,
check.
yes.
And now I could recapture the bishop on E6, but King H2 may just be
The end.
the end. Rook H1 is the winning mating threat.
So she retreated
Treated
the bishop to
bishop
F6.
Yes.
And now we can check for
An update?
We have no more moves, so
Well, you don't just play knight takes G5 and Queen H5 and not have a plan.
no, but there's some different plans available, perhaps. Right now, the pawn on
D4 is a big
is
issue.
hanging with check,
That's a big issue.
so I would like this rook to be on H1.
You would.
Yes. So would you probably?
Well, I understand you want it on the H file, so maybe you would take on F4 and just bring the rook to the H file? Rook F4.
Rook
Yeah.
F4.
Bishop D4 check.
King F1.
Okay.
Or do you want to?
I don't know where I'm going to go.
Let's go to
All
H1.
all I can say is the root of all evil, David Bronstein, who had more ideas and more openings than like anybody ever, had a propensity to play the King's Gambit. It is one.
Mhm.
It was really his great love.
Yes.
Yeah. And only David Bronstein could play the King's Gambit, and he did it incredibly, incredibly well.
You always knew where the pieces needed to go.
Somehow he did. This doesn't feel like it's deserving of a David Bronstein brilliancy. I don't.
You have some doubts.
I have very, very serious doubts. Another silly move. Can I suggest Bishop E3?
You certainly can.
Only because
I think it's
it
protects a pawn.
It develops a piece.
exactly
You
protects a
want-
pawn.
Develops a piece. You want to play Rook F4, but you don't want to deal with the consequence of Bishop D4.
Yes. The question, however,
If
is
he
of course
takes-
what happens if takes. But you can easily regain that piece with maybe.
I'm also pausing in that moment too, because
Okay.
Rook F6 also looks kind of
yes.
compelling. Yeah?
Well, which one shall we look at first?
Rook F6, because I have a threat of mate in 2 now.
So
Queen G5 check and,
and
Rook
rook
H6 mate.
Yeah, so there's a little dance between the two major pieces,
if you
and then
take-
you want to play Queen G5 check.
You guessed it.
I will be crying soon, most likely, but I'll go here
Yes.
for now.
And this looks like a David Bronstein brilliancy. Knight F6 and you're crying. Black is crying.
Yes, and
Yeah, so
this is a
but,
problem.
Who comes up with the? By the way, the only reason I came up with Bishop E3 is a kind of a necessity, and only
Yes.
because I've seen ideas of David Bronstein
Mhm.
where it seems like he defies the laws of chess. You don't go Bishop E3
when there's a pawn on
on
F4.
F4, right?
But in
but-
this case,
It worked brilliantly.
so could we already say that black cannot take that bishop?
You cannot take the bishop.
No.
You can definitely. Now you can take on c4 and you can do other things, and then white has other problems. But rook f4
Is still in the
is key.
position,
You,
yes.
you need to double the rooks, and
Yeah,
you wanted to bring a rook
hit
to
F6
h. Yeah,
and-
you want to bring a rook to the h file. There is a missing g pawn in the position, so black's king is vulnerable. But I
I
have no
would-
idea. It's a mess to my eyes. It's a mess.
But you would probably prefer white or black in this position. Let's say you have to pick a side now.
Well, if there's no forced win for black, I mean, like this,
Mhm, yeah, like
the
a
dead
immediate reputation, yes.
reputation. Oh, it's much more fun to have
Yes,
white
yes.
pieces. I mean, you're just enjoying yourself, and if you lose the game, all of the journalists come sympathetically towards you, and they tell you how much they enjoyed your playing.
Yes,
You know.
and you get invited. for
And you
next
get
year.
invited for the next event.
But in your contract it says you have to play King's Gambit.
Well, Jordan,
He's working on his future.
He's
That's for
working
sure.
on.
Okay.
Intriguing game.
Very.
And what about Abidan?
Our leader.
Along with Alexei Dreyev.
He's playing against Nino Batsiashvili.
Oh,
And
right.
I assume you've not seen anything yet.
Not at all.
So let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
And we get into very familiar waters.
Yes. This is the old Lenin, I think they call it the Leningrad Nimzo. C5, yes. D5. And D6, this is a very nice idea of Roman Djindji-Hashvili, a fine waiting move, they used to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, E3. Now everybody and his brother would capture on C3.
Because knight Ge2 is coming,
The idea.
is that the reason?
Yeah, that's the idea.
And
Yeah,
there we
takes,
go.
takes.
And E5.
Yes.
A famous structure.
Yes, the Robert Hubner variation kind of thing. Remember Jan Timman losing his white, in particular, a model game against Roman Djindji-Hashvili. It made such a great impression on everybody who watched it. Nobody else played the white side after that. It was sort of like the model game. And let's see what Abidan, how he continued. Bishop back, yeah. E4.
Okay.
Yeah.
H4 makes
Okay.
sense. Rook G8, so that
Normal move.
the H pawn is not pinned anymore.
Yep. Queen E7. All very logical.
Trade.
And then the idea is that white is basically doesn't have a position for his two bishops. The bishop on G3 is fine. Bishop F1 really
Not so
doesn't have a
much,
future.
yeah.
If black gets to play bishop F5, knight D7, castles, put his king on C7,
Mhm.
he has pluses everywhere on the queen side, in the center, on the king side. So white needs something extra special.
Yes, he
here.
needs
And
to-
usually it comes with knight D4, by the way. Sacrificing a piece,
Rook B1 is a logical move to first improve that rook.
right? Yes. All very good.
And King F8.
That's a bit of a surprise. For me, I'm more familiar with you go the other way. I'm
Mhm.
more familiar with King David 8.
And
And
King
you
to
s-
C7.
King, put the king on C7. And even though it looks a little bit strange, there's actually, the pawns on C4 and C3 act as a barrier for white's
Yes.
forces.
You can only get, well, 2, maybe 3 with a lot of effort.
But it's
pieces,
very hard to get guys over to the queen side. So King F8 was an interesting choice by Nino. Queen
A3, which looks like a
kind
bit of a mystery move.
Right.
But
kind of,
I have a feeling the move you just mentioned,
it's the only way to
Yes.
break up what is an incredibly
because
great fortress position for
at this
black.
moment we would have a little problem with D6 if the pawn
Correct.
were to capture.
So knight E5,
King G7, which gets out of this diagonal.
King G7. Why is that move so useful? I would think that black is anxious to play knight E5 and bishop F5.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess knight D4 is the answer. So King G7, fair enough. And what happened?
Knight D4.
Only move. Essentially, without this move, white basically
Has nothing,
resigns.
yes.
Yeah, just resigns. I mean, black's pieces take beautiful outposts, E5, F5, and when black gets to play rook H8,
Then the attack
then the
is
initiative
on, yes.
just passes. So the whole point is that normally speaking, you just don't want to take this knight.
No, if you do, there would probably be an
bishop
in-between move.
Yes.
And the queen has to go to a square that's...
Choose anyone. And then the problem is after C3 takes D4, there's no squares for black's knight. Black has a good knight, but no squares to put them on. I mean, E5,
And,
E6, C6,
White's
C5.
play becomes very, very easy.
Yes. So
Push the
don't-
pawns, use the bishops.
Right. So don't give that up. So knight E5, I believe, was the lady's move. She indeed played knight E5.
Let's check for an update. And we have no updates. So this is the position.
Right. Again, I'm not, obviously, in all of my commentary thus far, I'm not a big fan of white's position. Essentially,
I sort of had that
yeah,
feeling.
he guessed on that one. Essentially, if black navigates some tricky tactical moments, and they are just tricky tactical moments, at the end of the day, she's going to play rook h8, and your bishop on f1, it doesn't have a life.
It's a useful defender of the king at
Of
best.
the c4 square.
Yes.
Yeah. And if black is ever able to play moves like bishop g4, rook h8, rook h1, it's
There's
game over.
there's a clear path for black to get access to the white's position.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Abidjan taking
We'll
a big strategic risk in this game.
yes.
Yeah,
Well, he definitely wants to win. That is for sure.
Yeah, but his tournament
If
life is on the line here.
Yeah, it sort of almost depends on this game.
And Alexei Drev. The veteran Alexei Drev stormed out of the gates in this Challengers tournament, started with a 4-0 result, lost a key game against Abidjan in a very nice theoretical preparation where I'm still confused and mystified by a number of moments in that game. But having said that, he's still right in the thick of things. Shall we take it from the open?
Yes. Drev is white.
And by the way, of course, being a veteran myself, I'm rooting for Alexei.
Obviously, obviously.
Youth is basically unsound.
Well, they'll still get
young-
many chances to win these tournaments, but
Yes.
when for Alexei Drev, this might be his last chance to make it to the
A group.
A group.
By the way, a former winner of the Wijk aan Zee Masters is Alexei Drev.
Yes, in 1995.
Wow, 20 years ago. He
And
was a
still,
promising
yes.
junior.
And now is he promising senior?
That's right. You can still win the World Senior Championship.
That's sort of, I think, for every chess player, you always know, well, at least when I'm old, I can still.
Win the World Championship.
And I think you become a grandmaster automatically.
Sweet.
Yes, there have been a few people
Brilliant.
who use that. But okay, it's getting stronger every year, I believe.
Yes. It's sort of like the boomer age, the boomer generation
Yes.
retiring, and there's some really
Good
strong
chess players
boomers
there.
in that group. B6. Okay. A3, of course, is a normal move.
Mhm.
I always thought that B6 was one of those moves that does invite white to try E4. You know?
Right in this position.
In this position. So the difference is now you take on c3. I have to take with the pawn, of course. But hey, guess what? I got all my pawns on the third rank, man. You know, bishop d3, knight e2.
And you don't have that problem that Adiban is having.
That's true, exactly. But
Okay.
that was not Alexei's approach. He just played a3. Give me the bishops.
Okay.
He got him. And knight f3. So Garry Kasparov, many others, were playing bishop g5, e3 and stuff. Okay, let's see. Knight f3.
T5.
Right. G5. You can admire a classical player like Alexei Andreev
Yes.
just taking the two bishops and saying, okay, I have a plus. I have a pull.
He's probably very happy
Yes.
at this point.
CD. Bishop d5. Knight e5. Okay, this is a...
Well, his intentions are probably fairly...
clear, yes. To jump to c6.
Queen c8.
Fun business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, f3.
Stopping knight e4.
The unpleasant counter.
Bishop b7, which takes the wind out of this pawn, or at least...
A little bit of the sting.
Yes,
yeah.
the bishop has to move anyway.
And by the way, and the desirable looking knight c6 runs into a problem. The d5 bishop has retreated to allow knight d5, and this is a very important moment. So the queen has to drop back.
To, for example,
C2.
c2 or c1.
And the problem is your e3 pawn requires the protection of the bishop on g5, so that
Mm-hmm.
h6 is
Now
an
is an issue.
awkward An awkward moment.
And this is just
Not what...
a bit on the ugly side.
Well, you probably have to stop knight e7, but bishop... Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you just avoid that. But yeah, this isn't what you intended
You might even
with
take
white.
first and then...
Exactly. This isn't what white was playing for, so that was why Alexei stopped knight d5. But now knight c6 is like
a threat.
A bomb.
Yes.
It's a winning threat, I would describe it.
So black captured the knight.
Wow. That looks a little dangerous to my eyes. I would have expected c5.
c5 is sort of the natural move to...
Yeah. So this is double-edged stuff. Because even though the pawns are doubled, your majority, the c7 pawn, in a sense, you don't want to play it to c5 because then the knight says, yay, you forgot about me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to use your majority. Meanwhile, the e5 and e4 pawns control a lot of very key squares in black's camp. So a risky approach by Abasov. Let's see how it continued.
Rook d1. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
h6
Okay.
and bishop h4. And then indeed not c5, which would make this knight not very happy and also leave the square wide open.
Right.
So a5.
Wow. I like white.
Yes.
Maybe not by too much, but I can imagine that Alexei Drev is satisfied with the outcome here. And he's the type of player who enjoys these kinds of grinding two bishops positions.
Okay, the race for first place stays
Wide open. Maybe at this exact moment in time, Drev has the better of the contest. Considering the two positions.
Well, you vastly prefer his position to that of Adivan.
Precisely.
In fact, you probably have the black's position against Adivan.
Yes.
Which game shall we go back to? Shall we go back
do have a result, of course, between Magnus and
Yes.
Wesley. How about Fabiano and Luke?
We're ready for some more fireworks.
No exchange sacrifice by Luke.
No.
Not at all. So
Well,
we
we didn't
anticipated
really-
bishop c5,
Yes.
right?
And then we
Okay.
looked at sacrificing on
We
c5.
thought taking on e4 was very wrong.
There were some issues with the black king.
Precisely. So,
So
we thought bishop c5, knight c5, rook c5, and then we kind of got the feeling that no,
It
white
wasn't really
was
working.
for choice. So Luke drew back his horns, played queen d7, and now everybody and his brother would spank down g5.
And
which in
Fabiano is one of those
has-
people.
He's a good brother. Spanked down the move g5, and Luke Van Velde is
In the
wondering, what am I in? And my first impression is,
he's under some pressure here.
serious pressure. I don't like black's position. Okay, that's, pardon me, a generalization and maybe a little bit superficial, but I look at white's king. I go, okay.
Fairly safe.
I'm kind of happy, actually.
A lot of friends surrounding it.
Yeah, nice fellow troops. I look at the D file and I say, well, that's kind of cool. There's options even of bishop c4. Maybe
Sure.
on a good day I can win a pawn.
And just go for
And look,
the center.
and then I look at the king side and I go, well, I'm not sure black is castling short anytime soon. What can we recommend for our
well,
dear friend
if
Luke?
we look at just the most straightforward answer of taking it, I have a feeling that might not be.
This feels suicidal.
Yes, because
Yeah?
now the bishop on h3 really
Is omnipotent, I want to say.
g6 a move you want to play immediately.
100%. I always want to play g6.
This
No
just
fun.
feels
No fun. I mean,
terrible.
Every Sicilian player will understand that there's an issue here. Your king, that's not what you want. So you play knight h5 like a
Immediately.
normal human being. But it does mean that you're not castling short very soon. And
Well, let's say you had this idea of playing bishop c4.
Not a bad idea
You
at
can
all,
still
by the
do
way.
it because of the
Nice.
pin along the
Nice
D
pin.
file.
Yeah. I'm even...
Oops.
Yeah.
How do you...
Yeah, I'd go back, right? Well, here, rook d8 is a kind of a... Well, it's... I don't know. Rook
Defensive
D8.
D-pawn.
Yes, I have to go something like queen c3, perhaps? Not 100% sure I want to allow knight f4.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, we go back. Bishop c4. We'll keep that one in reserve. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll keep that in the pocket.
Let's find some other ideas.
Exactly. Well, I believe after g5 takes h6, you're going to recapture with the rook.
That feels most
Which
natural.
is kind of nice from White's point of view. Now he knows that it's going to take you a while. White knows it's going to take Black a while to get his king into some kind of...
Yes, at
good,
the same time, the rook on h6, it's defending along the 6th rank. It's defending the knight.
Yeah. Okay.
Could you...
So you're not completely pleased with g takes h6
no.
either.
Could you
Okay.
ever play something like f4?
f4, we're coming to that move, and I think that's a very powerful move, in fact. It kind of keeps all the pluses in the position, and it opens up what you said before. Your rook kind of swings across the third line.
There's a rook d3.
Rook d3,
There
rook
might
c3.
be a bishop e2. Maybe
Much more important, bishop e2
f5.
on a good day as well. Again, I just have the feeling that White is having an attack for free.
Yes.
There's no investment. He hasn't made any sacrifices. And Black has...
Some issues to solve.
Yeah, his pieces are a little bit discombobulated,
Yeah.
especially the knight on h5.
f4 feels like it's a move that ties the room together for White.
Really strong move. A very strong move. Bishop c5, knight c5, queen c7.
Aha, you spot a...
But
I play f4 and you immediately attack
go
pawn on f4.
Right. So these are the things that Luke has to work out. I mean, I still like White. By the way, knight b7, queen b7, bishop e2 is no fun for Black.
Not particularly.
No. And again, that rook along the third line...
He could swing...
it's
he could swing to almost, well, not any square, but there's a lot of squares that it would make a lot of sense on. And once you do that, this rook on h8 is sort of left hanging in the air.
Precisely.
It's like its existence depends on White's rook on h3.
Right. So if you were to play, for example, in this position, rook h3 to a3, that's a real kind of in-your-face kind of move. You sidestep a lot of knight f4 lines. You want to be crude and play knight b7 and bishop a6.
And that would be the end of the game. So.
That's a powerfully crude threat. We do have a move, by the way.
Okay.
Luke, recognizing that he's facing issues no matter what his choice was, has played hg5, a move we kind of rejected because hg5...
Looks very good for White.
Rook h3.
At the same time, the position we were just looking at
looked awful for her. so maybe he had to. It was.
This feels like it's forced.
Yes, force majeure.
And then there's going to be a knight move, and knight h5. Or is there like some strange sacrifice in this position that?
Maybe knight h5. Knight on h5, bishop g4. The knight just feels off sides. Yeah. Do we have a better play here for Luke?
Well, the moment the bishop left this f1 square, I was looking at maybe using this b5 square in some sort of a... I mean, it doesn't look good at all, but just as an example, let's say you again sacrifice and then get a check.
And now your knight finds a good square on d7.
Yes.
You've sacrificed in exchange for... I don't know if it's
so
real play.
No, but at least now you're probably not going to get mated instantly. Although...
You just may not like the consequences of the sacrifice.
G6 might still be a fairly interesting move.
Yeah.
But if black gets like maybe one more move, then all of a sudden things could start. Like if the knight, if I can take on
Right.
c5 or maybe.
Yeah. I'm thinking that in this position, while g6 is compelling, queen d4. Yeah, sorry, knight d7, queen d4.
Very nice centralizing move.
No e5. Very important that e5 is refuted by bishop d7. But I kind of stop your knight e5, knight c4. Looking towards g7 with an eye of playing g6.
Should be a threat.
By the way, the players have played quickly hg, hg, bishop h3.
And
now knight h7.
Okay.
That was kind of where I thought Luke was heading.
Obviously, he wants to take the pawn on g5.
I don't think Luke is happy at all. Normally speaking, Sicilianers understand when you got your knight on h7, man. Your knight's supposed to be on e4 or c4. Okay, I'll play it mundane way.
That's your mundane way? Or
the mundane way was f4.
f4.
And I was thinking that...
you just want to make the knight on h7 look stupid.
Right. You put... Black put his knight on h7.
Sure.
Let him enjoy it.
Exactly.
I mean, right?
So, let me be the devil's advocate.
Please.
And move that knight to...
and now I will...
more central. And you're going to play f5, yes?
If I reject queen d4 for good reasons, then I would play f5 for sure. Yeah? First, I have to find why I have to reject queen d4.
Yes.
Looks like a goodie, but f5 looks goodie too. I mean, again, sorry to hit the same nail. White hasn't sacrificed anything. I mean, good grief. You're not supposed to get these attacks for free, right?
And I'm sort of...
Yeah.
hoping to complete the picture.
The three pawn chains, f7, e6, d5.
I have a feeling the black pawn chain is going to collapse somewhere.
Right. This is... but you also spied the very tactical g5, g6.
If it wins, it wins.
That's correct. And there's a very strong temptation that this might just simply be winning. You got to take it. I don't think you... And now
a good move.
Exactly. And now a good move, you say. Can I take on d5 and take on... If you take with the bishop, I wanted to play queen takes d5.
And there's a lot of pieces hanging at the end of the line.
And that's actually a big oopsie-daisy, right? I mean, you...
Well, is it really all that?
Oh.
And then take again?
Yes, of course, but then... This isn't the clean takeout.
No.
When you play the beautiful combination,
it's
queen
not
d5, it's not... Yeah. Okay. We're going to leave these... two gladiators in a very sharp position, and we'll move to the game of David Navarra. David, Mr.
Very
Excitement.
Yes, every game has been a treat. Not always to his liking, but...
We left it after this very cool modern move, rook f8, b8.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just coolness, right? Yes. And then a2, a3, and I felt like Evgeny had already... equalized, although a7, a6. Okay, it's a move. g4, queen c7,
queen a5.
That's, normally speaking, not what you're trying to achieve. These ugly pawns. I mean, those are three very ugly pawns.
Yes, but they're still pawns.
Well, they may not be there very longer. I see bishop
d8,
d8 in the position, and that could be a big harvest. Whoa, David Navarra.
He finds
Mr. Excitement.
a way to...
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, this opening is not quite well known for
allowing knight
tactics.
e5.
Yes.
Wow. Knight takes e5.
Well,
points.
this is one of the points of the move.
Let's see. If I had played bishop takes g2, I'm assuming, yeah, new variation.
New variation, okay.
Talk.
And take.
Yes, please.
And you're going to take with the rook.
Yes, and I like the bishop. Bishop c6.
You don't want to take another pawn.
Nah.
You want to play it.
Yeah. Knight has to go to b6 now. I don't see it. And rook to David 8. And, you know, I think it's happened to every player that you get a great knight on b6 and it never moves. It's sort of like, you know, like,
yeah, it's
you just you got there and you're not going anywhere else.
There's an outpost, but there's no party.
There's no party. So that was an option for Evgeny. He thought that probably he found something even more reliable because that c4 pawn is hanging. Does he want to sacrifice in exchange with knight c4? And he does. And I can't blame him.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot to be said for Black's position.
Look at that c5, d6, e6 pawn structure. These guys can come down the board like a army ants, you know.
Two more ranks advanced, and
it's over. So David has to find a way of creating play. He played rook b7, bishop d8.
Yes, it's interesting. You sacrifice in exchange, and you give this rook access to the 7th rank, no less.
Right.
But now the question is, well, what do you want to do next?
I see nothing else beside rook b1. I wanted to play rook b8, but I'm going to be stuffed.
Are you going to
bishop c7 and
be shut out?
Knight a5, and I will resign the game. There will be just no play for white.
I was myself thinking
also,
I was going to...
yeah. Well.
Either way, we seem to be pretty happy with Black's position.
Exactly. I think that David took a very huge strategic risk with the move queen a5.
Mm-hmm.
And unless he has something like knight e4, knight takes c5, knight takes d6 kind of tactics,
this could
it's
be
going to be a
long-term problem.
Yeah, a very one-sided game coming up here very shortly.
Well,
you got to play it, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Right. So I'll take a pawn with a tempo. Knight a5.
Yes.
Rook d7.
Okay.
Trying to be obstinate.
This pawn is going to be hard to defend.
Well, is the rook trapped or not? I was looking at d5.
Knight takes
c5,
pawn.
knight f6. I see there's a bishop c7 variation, but it's not the end of the...
You're looking at this, yes?
Yeah.
But then...
Somehow white has, avoided the worst. I think I have to improve Black's line of play, but I think that David is in trouble, my first impression.
Well, even that line, he's still not completely out of the woods.
That's right. I'm sure I can improve after knight e4. Maybe I would just have to say, okay, e5.
Yes, by the way, bishop c7 looks tempting, but...
There isn't. Well...
there's then e5 as well.
Then e5 as well.
I mean, right now, the pawn is pinned, but
a lot of white pieces hanging, huh? No. Something's wrong here. I like white's, I like black's position. Shall we have a look at the game of Ding Liren? Again, Ding comes into this round in the 3rd place position at +2. That sounds right.
Yes.
And we liked Ding's, we thought Pavel's pawn sacrifice c5
was
rubbish.
That's one way of putting it. We looked at queen b5, but it didn't look too long, so he captured first.
And then captured.
And then we have a position where white is up a pawn.
Yes. Which, by the way, this is a little bit surprising.
So you mean maybe he should have...
I don't know if
he should
have.
But yes.
But
you don't want to ruin your pawn structure if you don't have to.
I'm a structure guy. I guess the problem with rook d4 is knight d5. No? that can't be the answer.
Because
I'll take it.
You want to take it.
And I have the old intermezzo.
And then I move my king somewhere.
And king
F1.
And I must... Oh, rook E C7. Oh, Pavel, what a trap.
Nice. Yeah, easy to fall for. Well,
I might have been victimized by this one. Oh my.
Okay.
So that was why he recaptured with the pawn, because there was
no
knight d5 concept in the position. Okay, so now he's just trying his best to get some comp.
Yes.
Not that he has it.
Well, he has to sort of say, well, maybe I'm going to play g5 and soften up the protection of d4, and he stops it.
Yep.
And he attacks the b pawn.
Oh, I'm very happy to get in the move b3. What? I would have been very happy to get in the move b3 myself.
Okay, so was there a reason not to do this?
No, I can't imagine there's reasons. It's just that...
It's just a matter of taste.
Yes, exactly. So,
okay.
King g7.
Why is everything protected at this point?
Very good play, right?
And
as a coach,
yes.
You know, you're saying to your students, you know, there's no sudden double attack, right?
Yes.
Because everything's protected. b3.
The move you wanted to move earlier,
knight d5 and knight a4.
Looks like a good move too.
Okay, rook b5. Okay, what can I say? Pavel is doing his best to put as many problems before his opponent as he can, but he's not happy having lost a pawn.
I think it's a question of whether white will convert or not.
Exactly. Shall we see Wei Yi?
Yep.
And we'll take a break after just looking at the games of the Chinese players, Wei Yi and Wu Yifan.
Yes, where did you leave it?
Oh man, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I couldn't
believe. It was
believe.
Sort of a very unusual.
I couldn't believe that this
play.
Pawn sacrifice really has legs for white. We left it with King H8, and this is wild to me that white can just sacrifice a pawn, and not just any pawn, but his
central
E4
pawn,
pawn, and get something. But look at this. It's a damn mess. F4. Rook. Queen. Well, white's achieved a lot. First of all, he's managed to win his pawn back. Second of all, but while both players have protected passed pawns in the center, white has
more space.
More space. His protected passed pawn is more meaningful, so first impressions are...
White has to be better.
White has to be better. And, well, this is really hard for me to believe. I mean, I really am shocked. I'm not sure I understand the move F5. First of all, do you know if this is theoretical or not?
Actually, I don't.
Okay. An honest man telling us he doesn't know.
Yes, I will blunder pieces.
Yes.
Telling I don't know anything about the opening.
Very good. This was the moment that Shaq played the move F5, which may or may not have some weakening
well, it's a very aggressive move. Saying, you know, I opened up the diagonal for my king, but, you know, I took your pawn.
And here I just didn't get it. Where do you think about going
C5
back?
C5 still looks
C5.
like...
You just got to go for it, right? Queen C7 is the normal...
just protect those pawns?
Well, it's kind of a developing move. And, you know, if you trade everything, black unravels, right?
Yes.
You take on D6, you take on E5, black...
Every move just helps him a little further along.
Right. And, oh, by the way, pardon me, I just want, because this is quite an important note. When you played the move C5, E4, of course, is winning, right? E4 is just a winning move. If you don't, because if you move the knight and allow the guy to play D5, it wins. So the reason it doesn't win is that the C6 pawn is hanging, right? And And that's why I played queen c7. So I'm thinking I play the move queen c7
And your
have a winning threat.
e4 is the move you want to play next.
Yeah, right. Precisely.
So you're almost forcing me to either prevent e4 or actually start taking a pawn.
Well, which helps me. So I'm guessing you got to play knight g3.
Yes.
Having said that, now my bishop on e7 is lonely.
Does this move that might...
So I got to play rook e8. Yeah.
And I'll still play it.
All right. And now I'll go e4.
And then I have to prove why I could afford all this with white.
Probably you can.
Well,
there's a knight g5 issue I'm going to have, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, not immediately, because then I'll play d5.
d5, so I have to
take first. And knight g5. And
with a double attack on the 2 pawns.
And I was doing so well. I was doing so well.
But not anymore. Okay.
Okay, I messed up. Not e4. Okay. So what's the body count?
You're still up a pawn.
This is good news.
But white's pieces are fairly active.
They're crawling. Then they've got something to be said for them. Okay. That being said, I've got to make some move. So bishop f8 is useful.
Is there anything else?
d5. d5. Now you can take on e5.
I'll take
that away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And knight drops back to e4. It's weird. I thought knight f6 was the solid, sensible, risk-free kind of choice, and f5 was typical shack. You know, like let's get to something wild.
But the result, the position they have now is a bit more solid for black.
Right.
The ones we're seeing.
So I'm thinking that exactly here, this is the type of moment that you want to be able to sacrifice a piece. So imagine in your mind's eye, white has played f3, fe4. So you want to recapture fe4, and you're going to want this massive avalanche of pawns, right? So you need to have your bishop on f6 and your king on h8. So there's no queen takes e4, right?
That's a big problem.
Right. So let's start. I think this was our first move, by the way, that I looked at. A move a while ago in our broadcast. And again, silly me, I was saying that I have a hard time
believing
that
the pawn sacrifice.
That the pawn sacrifice could lead to an advantageous position. Just about having said that, then came king h8. Like, oh, that's sensible too, you know, because there were moments like this. Yes, knight takes. The knight was coming here, and this knight,
is coming to f4.
Precisely. And there were some times when, queen takes e4.
And also maybe some knight d6, knight d5 type
of situations. Again, having said that, this looks like a position where an f3 and an f takes e4 I'm going to allow, and then I get great play. I'm hoping, I'm presuming. So, for example, just having fun, right?
Just a random move. Well, not random, actually.
But
it's a good move.
A useful move, yeah. So this is the position I kind of thinking, okay, I've got some nice pawns. On a good day, I get to go knight d3 and queen g6. And
every single black piece will be able to attack here.
Yeah. It'll be a little razzle-dazzle going on. But what they got in the game, however, I just feel that white is simply superior.
Yeah, he has no risk of losing, really.
And not only that, and when you realize that this
A3 is a problem,
A4 could really create a massive weakness on the queen side.
All of white's pieces will be very quickly be able to...
Beautifully done. Bishop on d4 will be kind of a dominant.
These pieces are completely out of the game, at least on the queen side.
Yeah, I think Shaq it's very, very easy to drift into a position where you thought for a moment that everything was safe and solid.
And all of a sudden
you get to that safe, solid position, and then you scratch your head and say, what do I do for an active plan?
Yeah.
You don't really want to play g5 here. If you don't play g5...
But it's the only active plan you have.
That's right. So this is just a very awkward position. Final look at the game of Hu Yifan, and we'll take a break. I'm very curious as to how she is doing with Mickey. It was a Berlin.
Okay. It's my first look at the game, by the way, so where did you...
I think we left it after some h4 move, so it was like way back around these parts. Oh, actually it was a4 move. So this was when we left it. Mickey played g5. Okay. Something is wrong. It already feels like black is pushing. Something is already... h4. Okay. It feels like black is still doing well. You know, if black ever plays king f5, it's like game over.
Yes.
It's flat. Like, just ends. And...
that's not going to be so
easy to stop.
Yeah. I mean, if you play f5, then the pawns become targets.
I was really impressed by these games from, I guess it was their first World Championship match between Magnus and Vichy, where when white gets this f5, there's always these rook h5.
Yes.
And then it's sort of like, wait a minute, I thought that was really cool, that white got in the move f5, and suddenly there's
they
an
got
issue.
attacked from the side, yeah.
So, first impressions, Michael will be pleased with the outcome of this game. We're going to take a break. Thank you very much for joining us here in the 12th round, championship rounds of the 2016 Tata Steel Chess Tournament. On behalf of Jan and myself, we want to invite you back to join us after a short 10-15 minute break.
All right.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Yasser.
Good afternoon, chess fans, and welcome again to our live coverage of the 2016 Tata Steel Chess Tournament. We are deep into the event, round 12. Jan, we've
Yasser?
seen some developments. A little bit surprised for me that David Navarra escaped an awkward game.
But escape he did.
Let's see how he did it. This was a key moment when we looked at both Bishop G2, which we thought was favorable for black, but this very compelling exchange sacrifice was the one that was essayed by the Russian champion Evgeny Tomaszewski, and I liked black's position. How on earth did David get out of it? Rook b7, trying to stay active.
94 as we suspected.
The move we suspected indeed.
And this
Bishop
as well.
c7, rooks. You just have the feeling that the tactics are somehow saving white.
Yes, it seems like the pawn structure is going to collapse.
Knight takes, but
And there it goes.
However, he managed to get two of the pawns back, and, well, like a cat, he landed on his feet.
Yes.
Knight b3. And everything got...
we are done.
ate. Everything got eaten.
I have
a draw was agreed.
I have a suspicion he had seen this variation when he played knight e5. When he entered the hall.
He calculates extraordinarily well, but I suspect that he...
Or maybe just felt like it should be.
Poor judgment with the move Queen A5.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our favorite in the event, Loke van Velde, he's living an adventure. He's having an adventurous time. We left it in a position we much preferred Fabiano's position. Again, Fabiano was obviously giving chase to the world champion Magnus Carlsen, a point behind, but because
close to
the
half
gap
a point
with one to play. We like this position. You like the move G5, G6, which I also liked, but I also like the positional move F4, which was Fabi's choice. The players are moving slowly, which means to me...
there was Queen C7 was played.
18, almost 19 minutes for Fabi, and 13 and a half or 14 minutes for Luke. But Luke has the tougher...
job.
job. Queen C... Well, I mean, from White's point of view, I mean, he's dreaming about just crushing Black with F5 and G6 and all kinds of beautiful things. But you've got to do it. Queen D7, C7. I mean, if this knight ever has a future, he needs to get to the D7 square. So this is useful to just get off of the D file.
Yeah, so the pawn is no longer pinned.
Right.
And it attacks the F4 pawn, so the white queen might be tied to it.
You're right. But doesn't this beg the... Well, G6, knight F6, right? And do I have a killer?
The F6,
I'm not sure I even need to take that. I want to do, you know, one of these beautiful bishop E6s and queen H2 and... No. In this case, I need the D file open, right?
Okay.
On a, you know, like, so I need you to play D5 takes E4. Then okay, so I make a bad move. Let me just put a bad move on the position so you can see at least
what your plan is.
Unfortunately, I think you just clog up the D file. So
and your king has an escape to D7.
Right, and Najdorf players love moving their king in the center. So
yeah, that knight on H7 suddenly is looking a lot better.
A big defender, indeed. Okay, so I've got to come up with a good idea here, right?
But G6 is the most natural move, I would say, to see.
I would probably play Queen D. Well, Queen D4. If somehow I find this move a little bit more compelling. I'm not quite sure why. I just really am dreaming about...
And if I take the pawn on F4?
Queen takes F4? Okay. Pause for a second.
There's still a lot of possibilities for white.
I got this. In case of this, I've got this. Trying to force you to trade queens so that I can...
Win on E6, yeah?
Precisely. I wanted to win on E6. I'm hoping knight E4 will be met by rook F1 and death and destruction falls. So I'm just saying queen D4 would be the move I would find initially the most attractive.
Okay.
You may play king F8. We do have a move, by the way. Bishop takes E7 was played, and very quickly, king recaptured. Okay, so can we just refute... The nice thing about queen D4 is you're not going to play king F8 and recapture with the king when my queen on the D4 square. You don't have E5, which would be tactically very nice. And can you... No.
Can you play even something like bishop F8?
I was thinking that you were going to go takes,
okay.
takes, and some wild, like somehow this knight on f8 does a
going to
lot
keep
of,
out.
controls a lot of important breaks. I mean, there is still
f5.
Lots of attacking ideas for white. None of this happened.
No, I'd say that maybe White's problem is that he's got various ways of proceeding here that all look tempting.
Exactly. That's the problem. When you have a wide variety of very attractive continuations, sometimes it's not so easy to find the proper, safe, and good method.
And for black, he just needs to look at all of those and make sure he has a move that
doesn't lose on the spot. Exactly. Okay, so what is the big idea? What's the big follow-up for Fabi?
Could it be something as mundane as knight c5? I mean, that looks like a bit strange to take that time.
Well, you're on a great square, and there's definitely
Again,
stops d5 takes e4.
Well, you could perhaps play king f8 there.
Oh, it's not. I'm sure that was the end of story, but
well, it might be the end of story.
But
I'm not too convinced that this is going to work.
Well,
yeah.
No, I would be scared to death if I was in black's shoes here.
Yes, you're not even sacrificing a pawn, I guess.
Well, something's. What was the line by Tarash? One bad piece spoils the position. Yeah, something, and this is a very poor piece. So. I like your move, knight c5, for outposts and everything else.
Somewhat of a positional approach to the position. He doesn't go for the tactical exchange.
But it's such a powerful outpost, the c5 outpost. I almost feel like I'm required. No, this is looking very, very compelling for white. Just easy play.
Just play against a knight, essentially.
Yes. So. In fact, knight b7, pardon me, I meant to highlight the fact that this pawn is pinned so that when I take the bishop and I take on e5...
You have to take with the queen.
Exactly.
Or at least you cannot take with the pawn.
Exactly. So this is a simple answer for white, just to play, as you say, against the knight on h7. And, well, dare I make such a suggestion? No. Amongst other...
doesn't feel right.
Black is not going to be saving this, no. I even feel that f5 is something to be said. Everything.
And all this is just for the cost of nothing.
That's cheap. Precisely. So...
well, okay, but then again, white still has to find, out of all those ways that are looking very promising, maybe even winning, he has to find still the best way.
Yeah, but
time trouble
is looming a little bit. Well, first of all, what move number are they on? We've just seen 24th move, king takes e7, I believe, is what we have.
Yeah.
So, move 25, knight c5. And by the way, I mean, the knight on b3 is nice and all of that good stuff. But, I mean, you really want your pieces to work and earn the money.
Well, if you want to play g6, the knight is much better off on c5 than on b3.
So, this is the move that has our undivided attention, and we both strongly feel that Luke's Houdini act, I heard we got a tweet. So the tweet said that Luke has completed the first part of the Houdini act, which is getting yourself in a chain.
And now
part two. He's got to escape what looks like a horrifying situation.
Okay. Shall we look at another game? How about the Giri?
All right.
I haven't seen this game yet while I was here.
For quite some time.
So where did you leave it?
Oh, long ways back. It was a kind of a slow Well, it was a b3
Reti.
that transposed into a kind of a reti. Well, indeed it is. And quite a number of players are playing this with the white side because they just kind of...
It's not theoretical. I mean, and, you can go into different kind of structures.
And there's play. Yeah.
Well, we have
D4.
There's pair of bishops for white, so black has more space.
Okay, and d4 is important because exactly in this moment I consider this a strategic threat to play d3, d4, and
open the position and get a
isolated pawn at that. So d4, nice move. Okay, things are getting interesting. And there's a good bishop on g2.
There's a very good bishop.
And there's a good pawn on e5. So
it's a pretty fierce struggle.
No question about it.
White is looking for some white square action, and black is trying to get some play on the dark squares.
And the question is, can you take and maybe play knight f4? Or we do have it. Let me get an update of the moves that have been played. So we just left it. There was a trade on e3, and rook came to d8. Wow. Okay. So I would ask the normal question, what about d3, d4, right?
Yes, and I would probably first take a look at taking it.
Of course.
And let's take it again.
Take it again.
Attacking the queen, setting up a discovery.
Yes. How scary is the discovery? Well, the problem is I don't really have a... It may be very scary. I'm not 100% sure, right? Okay, so I'll go queen a5. I always... This is kind of like the bullet move, right? When the guy attacks your queen, you just try to attack as many of his pieces as response and
hope that it all works out.
That it all works out brilliantly in the end. Okay, knight e2 double check?
Well, probably a double check is called for.
And I see that the players are moving, so... and there is this annoying check. Yeah? And if I have gone here,
then your
queen
can switch to the other diagonal.
That's right. And now that you're spearing my rook, black's fine.
Yeah.
So let us see what was played. He played queen takes in response to rook d8. Sergei captured the queen, captured on b7 with his queen. And that was a little bit...
Yes,
that's taking the air out of the position, no?
Yes, and then I assume d3 will be taken.
Will be dropping.
Yes, that just happened. And black's position looks very compact.
Fine. They're heading towards what is most likely to be a draw.
Yeah.
I would imagine a move like king g2 just to sidestep
any
ideas of knight f4. Okay, not very compelling game, I must say.
No, it's dwindling down.
Yes, indeed. And Kay, what's left for us?
Let's take a look at Wei.
This was the position where we just thought that white had this kind of massive...
And we've seen some moves.
And the famous king walk.
Yes,
by Tigran Petrosian.
We already concluded g5 was black's only active plan, and white concluded that his king would probably be better on the other side of the board.
Right.
Also, maybe the king can even go attack the queenside pawns on a good day.
Right. Exactly. I was always inspired by the games of Tigran Petrosian, where
the prophylaxis.
Yeah, he brought his king before undertaking any kingside action. He tuck his king away. Okay, it's just a very pleasant position for white.
Little has changed. I mean,
right, and white is always keeping in reserve for,
for a good day.
Yeah, some nice ending. Ending
retirement.
Position,
he can always go pick a pawn.
A3, A4. pardon me, a2, a3 to get a weak pawn on b4.
I see that Kajakin and Giri have agreed to a draw.
Okay, that definitely puts the kebab on that game.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just check in on Hu Yifan. We left it in a position where we felt that if black ever got his king to f5,
Which
Hu Yifan would be
in some trouble.
big time. We left it about these parts: rook g7, king e6, knight b5. By the way, that
yes.
bishop was getting more and more awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There was a trade and c4.
It's a nice little move.
I like black's position.
The queen side is going to
Well, if
come
you just
into play.
yeah, okay, put the white king on e4, and we're talking a whole different ball game. But
So that's
so she's going for it, and Mickey's going for it. Okay, so king f3, king e4.
Yes.
Only idea.
actually that bishop maneuver was actually quite nice.
You liked it. Why?
Because at the end of it, let's say that if the rook comes down
Yes.
to d1 and tries to chase the king from
e4.
cannot do it.
Aha.
So the rook would need to make quite a long journey
To
somewhere along the second row if he wants to chase the king
away.
with the rook. That's quite a
journey.
journey.
Okay, shall we see the straightforward rook d5, bishop c3, rook d5,
Okay, here we go.
king f3?
Yes.
This all looks very forceful.
I have a feeling you want to take.
I do.
Don't ask me why.
I wanted to take, and I'm going to meet f5. I have to play f5 check myself, otherwise f5
Yes.
and I'm...
You're getting rolled.
Thank you. You have to en passant.
Yes.
Otherwise I'm good.
And then
Bishop f6.
Bishop f6.
I was thinking you were going to go rook g6, and I wanted rook f8, rook f5 as my #1 defense.
But then
don't know.
your pieces have no more moves. But of course you have a lot of pawns.
Correct.
So what is
b5,
what?
c5, d4, and row your boat.
Interesting position.
Weird, isn't it?
If white would have just one more piece or pawn to attack
right.
the bishop on f6.
Yes. Then you would have played brilliantly, and I would have
Yes, just for aesthetic reasons, just to see all the pieces grouped
nicely together there.
But you know, you're not achieving much with this move.
That's right.
No, it's an interesting variation. Maybe
But it's a straightforward line. It's it started. Pardon me. This is the current position. I
well,
believe,
it's
right?
clear white has only one plan basically,
Yes.
which is to put the king on e4 and try to play f5, and black has to think, what am I going to do?
Which is f5 once the king gets there.
So maybe in
Now-
this line that we just looked at, white can take on c7.
Yes. Sorry. Do you want to take on f6? Did you mean?
Yeah, I wanted to take an f6 for just so that the
Okay.
a pawn is not passed just yet.
Okay. And I eta, and you eta.
Yep.
And then we're sinking towards
This
drawn.
position.
Wow. Well, first impressions is this closer to a draw than anything else.
Yeah.
I need to trick you in a brilliant way, where after something like this, I get to play b5 and rook b4 check.
Yes, or a2 and rook
b4
b4.
check, and but I don't think I think that white will be in time
Well,
after
and
a2. Yeah.
oh yes, yes.
Darn, double reds. Okay.
First
Is there something else? First
line-
impression, that was the most straightforward business. Yeah.
Yep.
Move black to play. Could black play? Oh, we have a result.
Shall we take a quick look?
Look at Ding Lirin and Pavel Elyanov. Oops.
That's an exchange. Well, hold on.
Well, that might be... something tells me that Pavel has overlooked a huge knight d6 leap. Those tricky knights. How did Dig Leren set up his opponent so royally?
Yes, well, we already were fairly pessimistic about black survival chances.
Right.
And we left it right here, knight a4, rook b5, and rook dd2, very solid move.
To protect a2, so that the rook has a free hand down the c line, yes.
Bishop f6, and there he goes, attacks the a-pawn.
Knight b4. Rook c7. We've got the 7th rank suddenly in our midst.
Yeah, and here...
Knight c5 is compelling, yeah.
Rook f5,
King
just
g2.
protected knight.
Okay, he sees that knight c5 is threatening to go to e6, so rook d6, knight
The knight comes
c5,
anyway.
a5, give me the pawn. No, you can't have it. Knight e4. Oh my, okay. So now it starts getting very exciting for white, yes.
Every move now lands with a
blow with force, yes. Ooh, rook c7.
And this is all she wrote.
Knight d6.
And, well...
What happened? Why did he not play bishop e7? Well, okay, the
pawn on a5 is...
probably will be captured, yeah? There's no f6 I can meet with knight c4. So I don't... And by the way, this rook may one day get a little bit short of squares as well. Ding Laren, with this win, sets up a situation where a win tomorrow against Magnus Carlsen could see him tied for first.
That's all we wanted to see. And now Fabiano also still has a chance to
also be in the mix.
Close the gap to half a point.
And we have another game that appears to have finished between Wei Yi against Shak Mamidarov. And so tomorrow, all to play for. Oh my goodness.
Well, we left it here, and one more move was played.
H4 and draw agreed. I'm sorry, I would
don't
never
think you
ever.
Would.
Not me, and not a lot of other grandmasters. Perhaps Wei Yi was pessimistic about his position, but I think
if
Magnus would have played.
Make moves that
it's white,
yes.
right? I think Magnus would have played this position for another 4.5 hours. You know, I just don't see this as a position that you agree to a draw.
Yes, and it's a bit of a disappointing draw in terms of Wei Yi being the young talent who,
right?
You know, some people think he might be the next
the heir
apparent,
apparent,
the one that's going to challenge Magnus. But Magnus, never in his life would he ever give a draw in this position.
Not at all. Having said that, I know that Magnus in his first year in the Premier group, the Masters group, he had a hard go of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and Wei Yi.
Maybe he just wants to sort of play it safe. He knows now if tomorrow goes okay, he's got a fairly successful debut, and keeping in mind Qatar was not a lot of fun for him. No, it was a setback of sorts.
So there's a wound that he's working his way through, but this position looked very promising, and I'm sure Shaq will probably say, White will have to take risks to win.
Yes, sure.
Okay, I'm willing to try and take those risks. In my view, what White would have to do is play the following types of moves. He would play king b1, he would play bishop f2, he would play rook b3, and he would be prepared to play a3 so that the rook will end up landing on b6.
King goes to a2, and the other rook
comes to b1, and so forth and so on.
c6 is a pawn
that we're going to focus on. Yes. We got to target the weakness. All right, so let's see what remains.
Well, let's go to something a bit more exciting.
Luke Van Welly, Mr. Excitement. Oh, by the way, knight c5.
Yes.
It looks like that was Fabi's move.
a5 is a very positional reply in a way. Undermine the knight. But you're not looking like you believe any of it.
Do I believe it? Can I take on b7 and take the pawn?
Okay.
Which was not played. Let me emphasize, was not played. Of course you can't take my pawn because of rook on c8 is hanging.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe rook b8? I don't know.
Yeah, so you want to take this with
check
and recapture with a rook with check. White definitely needs an answer now.
Unfortunately, this isn't what I wanted. But I mean, yeah, okay. So first, I just had to check was a pawn
the original threat has been parried.
So Fabi played g6, and look at them go. The players have really sped up their game.
As they should, with
4 minutes to 7 minutes. g6.
The move we've been expecting at some point.
Knight f6,
yes.
And then we're gonna update the game, and e5, knight d7. Well, this is a kind of a typical Najdorf in the sense that black bends. I can almost, in my mind's eye, hear Mel Gibson in the movie Braveheart. hold! You know.
Will he break?
Will he break? Okay, so Fabi needs a crashing, a genius breakthrough.
Yes, if it's black's move,
knight c5 ends the breakthrough.
Yes.
So you've got to do something now. Can I?
Ideas.
Yes. Can I be mundane?
And just
I want to
take
this
take
guy.
on f7, I suppose. Yeah?
Now, how you recapture is important. So
yes, do I want to keep the queen lined up with the rook?
Exactly.
The Najdorf player will be captured with the king and see
well
if he can get away with this position.
That may be asking a lot.
Yes.
Because I think f4, f5 is...
e5 is hanging with check.
That is true. So you could take, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now I might have a emergency break with queen c3 if I need to get out of Dutch quickly.
You do have the emergency breaks, but by the way, he did capture
and
on d7.
Look recapture with the queen.
Right.
Which is sort of the safer
choice. But now I think f5 is
played.
By the way, this is like the great pawn breakthroughs, right? f6. You know, and all those 4 pawns, you know, like nobody can capture anybody, right?
You could get it in Wesley So's game, but now...
Okay, Luke Van Velde, again, he's done Houdini Act Part 1. Can he get himself out of this? Because my first impression is white...
There's all sorts of ideas in this position that might...
And not to mention even the mundane.
Just
she takes on f7. And
at some point, white is just going to take material if he can.
And again, we have 5.5 minutes for Luke and basically 4 or 5 minutes for Fabi. So not what you would call real time trouble, but the players have this awareness. You're feeling it. Yeah.
Luke is hovering above the board with his hand.
Yes.
As if he knows the move he's going to play, but...
It's not easy.
Will it break him?
Yes, exactly. By the way, there's even... Again, we're kind of talking mundane threats here, but you better take it seriously. Takes, and rook f1. And I could easily eyeball that f7 square. He has played a move, rook c4. Very good counter. What do they say? The best defense is a strong offense, right? Okay.
Yes, although rook b4 is just 1 pawn and 1 pawn and 1 check, so it's not that
that big a deal, but he needed a move. And there was f6 checks for white as well as queen g5 checks. And Fabio played f6, which, again, looks very, very compelling.
He takes a sip, which I have a feeling
I think he's calculated this to a win.
Yes.
I think this is just very, very bad for Luke. I'm looking at king f8 as kind of
a box,
an only move. And
this is some scary stuff. Usually when those pawns coming, I want to move my king to the other side of the board. But then again, who's going to stop those pawns?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. You want to get out of the avalanche. But the problem is that who's going to stop George? You know, g8
it's not going to be Freddy.
Yeah. So king f8. Now you want to play some kind of move like rook f1, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, there's a lot of tempting ideas here.
Because you've mentioned that losing the pawn on b4,
it's not a big deal. You go to c1, queen a4, otherwise could be a problem.
Sorry, the reason I hesitated because I was just checking
if you're going to take
pawn ending. Yeah.
Ah, yes.
That might be just a very good bishop ending, but maybe it's not winning.
Yeah, but who wants to play an endgame from this?
Of course. So, but you have to stop, right? So it was just a pawn, but in the meantime, the threat of f6 takes g. Ooh, now he's okay. Now he's just swimming with the current. Yeah?
Yes, it's normal rook f7.
Okay.
And a move has been played. He took the
pawn. That's a shock. Is he going to play king d6?
Well, it's white going to play g7.
No, he's just going to take.
He's just going to take. Well,
I don't think you can survive king f6, rook f1. I think that's hopeless. And king d6? What else? Yes, king d6, what else? And now g7, there's a lot to be said for it.
Sort of tempting. I mean...
Yes, why not? g7 is very tempting.
Okay, stop the pawn for now, and then you have to...
Give me... If I can force the lady to g8, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? She'll never see the light of day.
Well, a queen is not the best blockader, but in this case it's the only blockader.
Yeah, but then I've got a feeling that's just over. So, is Luke going to tempt fate? And
well, let's say he takes it, you know.
Yeah, why not?
If the other choices G7, I'm going to take that as well.
If the other choices are so bad, okay. So let me. I get to be headhunter for the day. Huh?
Yes, you certainly do.
Check.
So the next question is, do I take again?
And by the way,
he has recaptured.
As expected, Fabi did capture on f6 with a check, and Luke is reaching for his king. And here he goes, king d6. No, this is hopeless. The king is just too exposed. And I think our motto in this game for white has been, and I get it all for free. Still, after this entire attack has gone down the board, white has not given
anything.
And king d6, we looked at the move g7, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. That stops rook b4. I could give my queen if I...
So you'd have to choose whether you're going to stop it with your rook or with your queen.
Yeah.
But rook c8 would feel so sad after just having moved rook c4. Okay, you didn't get mated somewhere, but... I mean, if maybe I would just for pure aesthetics, I would
consider c4, right? Yeah. Our hard-working producer Leonard Oates has asked us a question: has Fabi move improved over that of Garry Kasparov, King d1?
I think so.
Based on the outcome of this game, regardless of the result, I mean, white has been for choice throughout. This has been a fun game for the white player.
Kasparov would have liked white's position at every single moment.
Yes, at all stages of the game, no question. Yes, well, you mentioned rook after g7. By the way, Fabi to play Down to 2 minutes. He's feeling it.
Yes, but it feels like he doesn't have to take maybe a critical decision at this moment.
Well, the reason why he might be thinking about G7, Rook C8.
Mm-hmm.
So he might be thinking, I'll check first on H2.
And force your king in front of the
Rook, so you can't. But okay, that's a different matter altogether.
And he actually did play it.
He has played Queen H2 because the king has no good square.
C6 is the only move.
Now, when you put there's no beautiful.
The king is sort of in the way of things. It's
Precisely.
actually on about the worst square for all the three pieces black has.
That's right.
It's blocking everything.
And then suddenly comes G7, and now you're going to have to block
With the queen.
Blockade with the queen. Well, we take a pawn. The king is
okay. Finally, black has a pawn for all his troubles.
Beautiful.
And then you have to drop back the queen.
Because you can't create any threats against White's king, and then it's just too fast, yeah? We've seen this movie before.
And then you want to take an E6?
Yeah. Somehow, I strongly suspect I don't have to be as brilliant as Bishop E6.
No.
But...
but it might be the shortest route to
victory. Wow. Help me recall. Fabiano goes into the game, a point behind Magnus Carlsen.
Yes.
Magnus makes a draw. Fabi wins, if he does in fact win. He brings himself up to a half a point, setting up the championship round. And who is Fabi's opponent tomorrow? We know that Magnus has to play Ding.
Yes.
Ding Liren. But Magnus will have White.
And Magnus should probably not be satisfied with a draw.
And we're being told that Fabiano plays against Tomaszewski with the black pieces. Tomaszewski is a good player, really good player.
He's not in the best of shape this tournament.
That's what I wanted to say. He's wobbled in this event.
And Fabiano is someone who doesn't mind playing for when. Well, he prefer white, but
hey,
he's won many games at black.
And we have seen the move G7, I believe.
Yeah.
So just to get to the game position, Queen H2 check, King C6 on the board, G7 on the board. This is where we got here. And there's many winning moves. Bishop F1. All you need to do is go Queen H8.
Yeah. Actually, maybe... Well,
but Bishop E6 is the most... I claim, right?
It's like white got to sacrifice one pawn.
And he got his pawn back.
And now he gets to sacrifice at least something bigger than a pawn.
And by the way, the players...
Queen D8 was played.
There was...
No captures.
That makes more sense because F6 check.
Yes.
Of course, what were we thinking? Queen D8, a far superior move. I apologize to our audience. My goodness. A far superior move because at least in this case...
We have a threat to win the game.
Yes, indeed. We certainly do. Okay, so it's not that simple. Probably it is still that simple.
Well, let's say we protect the pawn.
I will protect the pawn. Queen E5. Okay, in this case, is there some, in a strange way, can...
is there any sort of counterattack?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm just trying to imagine.
He did play Queen E5, by the way.
I mean, you know, get a couple of checks in the position and...
hope for the best. Let's just keep going.
Keep going. Okay.
See where
we end up. Well, it's a journey.
Queen F4
or D4. Maybe D4. Maybe we're
making a
perpetual. What were we saying about Houdini?
That he needs to get tied up first and then escape.
Wow. Well, by the way, set us up.
Queen e5 was played.
Queen e5 was played. Okay, let me take another view. After rook takes b4, let me put my king on the a3 square, just so I'm not... Queen b6 I can meet with queen c3 check, so I don't get mated anywhere, and then I'll make a queen.
Okay, but it's still a rook c4.
A rook c4. Let's give it a shot. A queen b6?
If you do go...
Don't tell me. I'm not... You're making a perpetual. You're still making perpetuals.
You want to...
This is what I wanted. Of course I did. But maybe I don't escape in the nice way. h3 is hanging. No, I'm not...
You're not convinced, huh?
No, I'm not thrilled by this line of play for white. I thought that when Fabi played the move queen e5, he's looking for something a lot less...
Well, just to mention, there is a serious threat in the position.
Precisely. That was why I thought queen c3 was necessary. So queen e5. So my safety move, king a3, may not be such a safety move after all.
Well, let's look at king c1 again.
Again, yeah?
It feels like the most natural move, although natural, of course, only goes so far.
Well, oftentimes in the Najdorf you get those positions where you can't play on instincts or feelings. It's just calculation, stone-cold calculation. And by the way, 1 minute, 11 seconds
and going
basically
down
for both players. And Luke, in this moment, 5 moves to make. I hope we're not going to see a repeat of his game with Magnus, where it was a time trouble error that cost him the whole point. I mean, strategically he's lost. Of course he is. I mean, there's no question about it. There's a pawn on g7.
The white king is his only savior.
Precisely. So it's all about...
It's interesting he's actually thinking in this position. Is he considering maybe queen b6 at once?
Yes. And I just wanted to point out there's another move he really didn't consider either.
Just going up the board.
Which is a kind of a little bit contrarian, but
now you're probably completely safe.
That's the dream, right? All we're asking is for a moment of safety.
Oh, he moves his bishop, just in case, you know.
Bishop c8. What? So no bishop e6, I understand, but I wasn't really ever thinking about that. Okay, so here's a diff too. If we play rook g1 and there's a queen b6 idea,
the rook on g1 attack.
The stupid rook on g1.
He actually already played a move, I believe.
Rook d3.
He played b5.
Ooh,
oh boy,
that is a beauty.
If it works, but it feels like it's completely disrupting because it keeps the b file closed for the queen.
Right.
There might be some queen b8.
And there's a bishop f1 after king takes b5. So king takes b5, bishop f1 is over.
15 seconds.
For Luke Van. Oh, by the way, there's a queen b8 check in the position too.
So this feels like it's the only move.
And he played it with 10 seconds on his clock.
Okay, I think he missed b5.
Yeah, I think b5 just cemented the game for White's point of view. Bishop f1 and over now.
Yeah.
Because the pawn...
The pawn defends the king from any queen checks.
Assaults, yeah. Oh my, so if there was any hope in the position, it involved Luke playing rook c4 takes b4 with a check, because now the b5 pawn is extremely useful. And again, strategically, sure, black may...
You can stop the g pawn.
Yeah, but guess
what?
Again, it's the long-term threats in the position. It means that it will always... black's pieces will be perpetually...
He's tied up to the g8 square, and in the meantime the black king will... probably just find its demise on the other side of the board.
Precisely. King b7, do we have a move after this?
I hope so. Because
Rook G1.
Sure.
Well, the one idea... Oh, by the way, now that the king is on b7, we make a queen. We get to capture on f7 with a check.
And we have 2 queens in the attack. Well, it's very simple. It's queen g8 to stop the pawn, or...
No, he didn't play it.
Queen b6.
Yeah, he didn't play it. So...
And
Fabiana
has grabbed the queen. It's not on the board yet, but I have a feeling...
By the way, these aren't blitz rules. If he queened the pawn without putting the queen on the board, his opponent would get some extra time, not forfeit.
He's well aware of that rule.
Right. Down to 25 seconds. Nonetheless, he's just double checking.
And there he goes.
And there he goes.
Give me the queen. You get a check, which loudly will follow shortly.
Rook b4 check or what?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I
think it's hopeless.
There's not many follow-up checks available.
No, there isn't.
So we're at 10 seconds.
I think that's it.
And it's a handshake.
Yes, and it's a handshake. Impressive game by Fabiano. There was a one Wijk aan Zee I do remember where Luke, the Najdorf, there was a long line of players that were really prepared. Luke improved greatly, and I haven't seen him getting smashed.
But this is one.
This is quite so decisively. It's
the risk.
It's very,
it's
very
a professional
painful
risk if you play.
Yeah, but it's very, very painful when your pet weapon, your number one A defense, goes down in a smashing way.
Without really being able to say, well, this is where
I made my error.
White to control and.
Wow. So let us update the tournament standings after these results, these early results of round 12. Magnus Carlsen, our world champion, leads the event with an impressive performance of 8.5 points from 12, a half a point to clear of Fabiano Caruana at 8 out of 12, and Ding Laren, who will play Magnus tomorrow with the black pieces, has 7.5 points, 1 point behind. So, boy, we have a championship round that you're not going to want to miss. This is incredible.
And it's just sort of surprising because Magnus has been keeping a pretty
good
fast
pace.
Yes.
Yeah. And, I was about to say was it 2 or 3 rounds ago when it just seemed to me that they had this feeling of inevitability over the tournament. There was this cloud that basically said Magnus.
And then yesterday we had a moment where this game he's just got gifted a half a point.
Thank you very much, Ho Yifan, in this king and pawn endgame. So it's like all the stars beautifully aligned for Magnus.
But still, he has to fight.
And then, shockingly, he's in a big fight.
Yes. Although he is still the favorite to win this tournament, having the white pieces, Fabiano having the black pieces against
but it was we were almost at the point where we thought that, hey, he could have a point lead going into the last round game or something.
Actually, how long ago has it? Because I believe he's been winner before the last round more than once already.
Oh, I'm certain of that.
So, well, it's the best we could hope for.
And we got it. We hope that some of the players may join us here in the studio. Can we just take a look at some of the challengers? Because, again, the big prize in the challenger section is that the winner is promoted into the A group. And Abidan was tied for first going into the round with Alexei Dre.
Yes.
And Abidan took a big strategic risk against Nino
by playing this variation.
By playing variation. Whoa.
Okay, rook d8. Now he says, well, I'm going to take that knight on d4 at some point.
Right. I was expecting rook h8. That's why I just had a...
Well, first you move the bishop, and then first you move this bishop out of the way.
Do I? I was just going to play rook h8 and just...
Oh, just trade it and go from there.
It's funny, if you look at the position, and oftentimes when I just I think of myself as a strategic player. One of the simplest things I do is I just ask myself, what are my opponent's best pieces?
And just trade those off.
Take those off and leave him with the worst pieces, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to look at the position, you would certainly say, well, White's pieces don't have too many good ones, but maybe the rook on h1 is one of his best.
Maybe, yes.
So rook h8 may have been my first choice, but that was not played. Knight b3. Okay, this is a big success now for black, because next move is
going to do?
bishop g4 or bishop f5, and then rook h8. There it comes. Now, essentially, this position's lost. It's just a strategic disaster.
White just has no play whatsoever.
Precisely. And rook h8.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that, or is it going to be a black rook on h1? So.
Yeah, somewhere out there in the Boston Harbor, Roman Djindjiashvili is smiling and saying, this is what he used to live for. Whoa.
Yes.
That's cashing in. That's a big move. It's a move
It's committal. You're now allowing White to get rid of that bad bishop.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's also not that easy for black maybe to improve. You could try to double easy. And go rook h1.
That's exactly what I would do. I would be very quick to play rook h6 or rook h7. My rook on a8 isn't working.
So it should
get him to earn its keep. And then rook h1.
I think White probably has to move like king d1 c2 or something to that effect.
Okay, yes, I wouldn't disagree. Then maybe knight d3 gets a little bit more compelling when But okay.
Okay, maybe it's good here too.
Let's see how it went.
I mean, at the very least, it looks horrible for White. But
that is certainly the truth. So, by the way, there is no f2, f3 because there's the interference.
Yeah, you get.
Yes, okay, f3. There's the oops.
Luring the knight away from the bishop.
Oops. So rook d2.
Well,
okay, she's won a pawn.
There's something on e2.
I must say, I'm taking my my mild criticism back. b5. So she was. Now she's greedy. So she could play knight e2.
Yes, but the knight is a better piece than the rook on b2.
All right. If you say so.
I say so.
That's a rook is worth how many again?
They say 5.
They say 5. You're not convinced.
Oh, that knight on c3 is just, oh my god.
It's
probably going to go pretty soon. But
it's beastly. By the way, that's pawn number 2. But guess what? When White gets in the move e4, it's not yes. And
now the bishop is shut out.
Rook h2. This has actually been a great game. I mean...
well, especially for black, although White is...
there's some...
trying to hang in.
There's some model stuff going on over here. Ooh! I like it.
Yes.
This lady plays great chess. Nino. Isn't this the lady that gave Magnus the horrible, horrible time in Qatar, round 1?
It was... 8 rounds of bliss from Magnus and 1 of, well, horror at least.
Really close to... So black is in fact winning, of course. I mean, she has a pawn to the good and she's really...
superior king e5, f4 or something.
Bishop
actually.
h... You know, these are a position where you can imagine the bishop coming to h5, the rook snapping on f3.
And even just...
The g-pawn and the king, you know, just escorting...
the black pawn, the g-pawn.
Let me get an update of the game. Whoa, what happened?
She's actually doing exactly what you just mentioned in a different version.
And beautifully, beautiful play by Nino. I'm very impressed by this very fine play. What to say? I mean, black has ready to f7, g5, you know, get those doggies going on the king side. Wow. I like it. Very, very handsome, well-played game by Black.
Let's take a look at Alexei
Dreyev,
Dreyev, who is probably enjoying the view on Aliban's board. And interestingly, a lot has happened.
We left it at a time where we thought that White's doubled e-pawns were giving him a clear plus. Like, yeah, we left it here. And first impressions, very powerful position for White.
Well, White is now up a pawn, although, you know, it's not exactly the most important pawn. Still, positionally, he looks pretty good on the queen side as well.
Look, I'm a pawn grubber, so, you know. But that's not a pawn I really want. I wanted to play king f2, rook d6, rook d1.
And just go for the d-file.
Exactly. But okay.
I'm sort of surprised from that position. We're going to a position that we just saw that as current, which looks like was nothing like it.
Not at all. Okay, White is still for choice, but
Black is
creeping
active on the
creeping back into the game, and look at this. Rook c3. I think it was maybe time to just kind of make a draw.
Yes.
You know, maybe it was just trying to say,
maybe
shut it down.
That's actually where things went wrong to begin with, trying to just play it safe or...
And shut things down? Well, guess what? It's Black.
Yeah, the White has to be careful. The b-pawn needs...
I mean, there's always this nasty invitation, and that the White king needs to be close. So let's start with a check, and let's come in to see how the water is doing. Safarli has drawn, whereas Jordan went down with his king's gambit, I'm afraid. He's not, I mean, he may have won some fans.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
I don't know. Shall we go back to the Masters?
Yes, to we see a game
and
that's just
see
finished.
What games have finished. Oh my.
Okay, well, let's go back to...
I think we just have a perpetual in the position, if I'm not mistaken.
So we were looking at
Rook
d5, and Black played bishop c5.
And then we see f5 check.
Okay.
Some very fancy
footwork
going on here. And e6, and a draw by repetition. Another one of these confoundingly easy days for the Berlin.
Yeah. Well, you have to love it and like it, but
yeah, I mean, Mickey just had a very fun time with the black pieces. No major pressure.
And at some point, How You Fun just needed to play f5 and go for the
draw to clinch, because otherwise, and it was easy for her to go seriously amiss. Like things could have gone wrong, and the king gets to f5 and it's all over. Can we have we should warn our viewers to avert their eyes, but can we have a look at the Jordan King's Gambit disaster?
Yes, if you're a King's Gambit lover, this might not be your favorite game.
Oh wow!
Someone did get mated.
King's Gambit should end in a checkmate, and that's
this position.
What can you say?
Okay, so...
Oh, hold on, but this was the cool moment, right?
Yeah.
This was the cool moment. We were looking at Bishop E3, and who knows? We thought that maybe
it was very interesting.
Intriguing. D5, takes. Yeah, this was the problem. I really didn't like to meet Bishop D4. Ooh.
Yes.
This is against the spirit of the King's Gambit.
Is the problem that if the King H1, you can play King G7?
I think that's the problem.
And Rook H8?
Yeah.
That's a painful retreat that White is making here.
I didn't want to have to deal with this Bishop D4. That's why I was attracted to Bishop E3. Having said that, now... Well, black has an easy game.
There's the pin on f2, that's extremely annoying. The king on h1 is not going to be safe.
We talk about these eternal pins and how
and here is one.
How repressive they make you feel. Well, this looks like a very nice game by...
yeah, but we're already enter the stage where...
well, Jordan is doing his... Whoa, there was a g2 pawn that he didn't smack. She didn't smack.
She's going for the most painful...
You know, it's something to keep an eye out for. When we came to the game, White's king got mated on a5. Take a look at where it's sitting right now. I mean, this is going to be a fun chase.
The white rooks are not going to move anymore.
Indeed. Okay, so now all the fun goes in one direction. Look at this. This is almost study-like. Sweet.
Well, at least he wasn't...
He played
didn't
for the
spoil,
audience.
yes,
he
yes.
played for the public. Okay.
Very nice game. Just for people who like to see...
romantic slashing
yes.
chess. But I would have been curious...
Bishop e3, yes.
How that game would have... Safarli made a draw, so set us up for tomorrow's round. What do these results mean? Well, actually, Adiban and Andreev are still playing.
Yes.
So we don't have a setup for tomorrow yet. Those games are still in progress.
Quick look.
I made a sweeping assumption that this was winning for black. Maybe I'm being a little presumptive.
Yeah, bishop h5 is not exactly the move you're...
Well,
but if it gets to... If you keep the a pawn...
Well, you can't allow bishop g6 to c2 to b3.
That would be a disaster.
So you got to go rook a1, whether you like it or not. King e5, yeah. Rook takes. Now, I was always taught that the rook cannot handle two connected pass pawns and a bishop. So f5, my instinct is it's over, but okay, let's have a look. Yes, rook, huh? Okay. You got to stay in the way, don't you? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Just send the other one?
Do we need to post it, or let's see. That's a good question. I'm not sure. Because I'm also thinking about king d4, and I don't mind the bridesmaid of having a c4 pawn. But go ahead. Let's go see the straightforward stuff. Okay, you checked me up the board.
Just try to...
Okay. Here I'll give a
little
check.
pause. Check with g3, and you have to go to g2.
Right. Now, because I don't want to lose the game, I want to take both your pawns.
Okay.
Bishop e2.
Oh, okay, you want to take... it can be taken.
Oh! Well, that's terrible. Well, I don't want to lose my bishop.
But you still have another option.
Take it. Now bishop f7, right. This way, I can never lose. They're very important.
Always nice.
Always nice. And I take a pawn with... Well, should you have played king f3? I'm not sure. Or
maybe.
Okay, go ahead. What did you like? Yeah?
King h3 is the only move.
Okay, but now I'll go
g2 and f3,
and that will be it.
Yes.
Yeah. That will be a very nice finish for black if she gets all of... By the way, the players have followed our analysis to f5.
Okay.
So they have that current position on the board.
So something similar might indeed
easily happen.
Okay.
All right, and let's take a look at what other games are in progress in the challengers.
The challengers, we've only 2 games. So Dreyev, who's still playing his queen endgame.
Yeah.
And who must not be happy that
he
from
slipped.
a very nice position. He's actually
worse, and significantly worse.
Maybe he doesn't want to win. No.
The fear of success is
well.
great.
I know. You know, if you have to play next year, he's 1 year older, and then he has to face all those young top
Talents.
20 players in the world. It's could be. But the A group is the Masters group is done.
Okay.
So.
And I see that Fabiano, who we were hoping would join us, is in fact deep in analysis with Luke.
Can't blame him.
You can't blame him. It's an exciting game. Maybe we'll get some interview with with Fabi, and let's set it up for tomorrow's championship round. Once more, Magnus Carlsen leads the event by half a point over Caruana. Magnus will have the white pieces against Ding Liren, who trails by a full point. Caruana will play Evgeny Tomaszewski with the black pieces in a game that if he can win, we might... What happens in cases of ties?
I've never seen a tie-break
played.
blitz.
I can't recall one either. I think they just call them co-champions.
Yes.
Okay.
But undoubtedly, Fabiano doesn't mind.
Well, without question. Okay. So those will be the two big games, not to mention that Wesley So, having a very nice performance at +1, will play against Mickey Adams. He'll look to improve upon his performance. And Anish Giri, a man who has lived many strange lives. He's really gotten fortunate. He could actually leave this tournament with a win tomorrow against Hu Yifan and quite possibly even gain rating points. Which would be
somewhat of a miracle given the positions he's
a
had.
fantastic achievement, I would say. I mean, yes, especially given the positions he's had. I can think of almost 3 losses right off the bat.
In the early stages of the tournament, he was
yesterday.
And yesterday,
this Mickey Adams. Oh my gosh! So
good
that's
defender.
Yeah. So that's we've got a great championship round for you tomorrow. And
starting at noon.
Thank you.
Local time.
That's right. We start early tomorrow. The reason is, here in Europe, they very much like their closing ceremonies. Very unusual. In America, there's no real closing ceremony with the exception of the U.S. Championship. So many open tournaments. It's just like the tournament ends and here's your check and goodbye.
Well, you usually have to wait for 4 hours before you get your check. But
okay, yes, exactly.
That's it.
So, but the pea soup tradition will be in the evening, so they will play 90 minutes early. We will start 12 o'clock Dutch time.
Yes.
For tomorrow's game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Yep.
It was fun. Thank you all for joining us, and again, we hope that we will get interview with Fabiano, and we will, as soon as we have it, we'll stream it on air for you. Thank you all, and a pleasant good evening.